All right, next.
All right, we can now do Kolakowski, or Gonda versus Gonda.
God, is it 9:30, isn't it?
Nope, 8:30.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and get that one over with.
Sorry to surprise you.
No, no, that's okay. It's the one that's giving me the headache all week.
I
So,
know.
there's always at least one.
Yeah.
Looking serious, referee.
Yeah, well, there's always that one motion, if not two, that drive me nuts all week after I read them on Monday, and then I reread them, and then I reread them, and then I reread them. Yours happens to be it. So now
Yay.
that I've read everything, and I believe everyone's connected, Mr. Reens, can you confirm you're connected?
I'm here, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Mr. Gonda, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, and I think I heard Miss Kolakowski's voice just for a second there, so I know she connected. All right, let's go ahead and go on the record in the matter of Gonda, now Kolakowski versus Gonda, case number 15-030414DM. Mr. Reens, anything you want to add to your motion?
So, Your Honor, we originally filed our motion to modify parenting time, asking that Mr. Gonda's parenting time be supervised and to appoint a counselor for this minor child. Later that same day, I received a motion to change custody filed on Mr. Gonda's behalf. We filed a fairly voluminous response to that on Wednesday. The court may recall that in one of my responses, I noted that it was my suspicion, given Mr. Gonda's penchant for murderous threats via text, that his contention that he had never said any of those things in front of the minor child was inaccurate. I was then on Thursday able to interview Mr. Gonda's latest girlfriend, Miss Rizzo. Miss Rizzo is the person who sought and obtained a personal protection order in Ottawa County based upon Mr. Gonda's physical assaults upon her. And then Miss Rizzo informed Miss Kolakowski of Mr. Gonda's threats against her. And the reason that I give the court that background is these are her statements to me in her interview. In December of 2023, Mr. Gonda, contrary to his assertions in his pleadings that his threats are historical and jokes, made the specific statement to Miss Rizzo that he intended to kill Miss Kolakowski, that he had found someone to do so, but he wasn't sure if he could trust this person yet. What was particularly chilling to Miss Rizzo, and I think absolutely relevant to this court's determination, is that Mr. Gonda didn't say this in the heat of anger. He didn't say this as a joke. He said it nonchalantly as the completion of a plan that he had been formulating. Your Honor, he quite clearly intended to do so. His multiple text messages, which say so, establish that. And then I asked Ms. Rizzo again, did Mr. Gonda make these statements in front of the child? And this is the specific statement that he made in front of the child. And it is so concerning on so many levels. Quote, "I know you don't like hearing me say this, but I will kill her someday." To the child. This is the same gentleman that said that he would, quote, "choke the C word out in the front yard."
I've read the text,
parenting time exchange.
I've read the text, Mr. Reens, yes.
The response that I get is, "just kidding. Murder, it's funny." This is the love language of these people. I cannot imagine a more offensive way to respond to this motion. I cannot imagine Mr. Gonda living in a world where all of these things didn't happen. Your Honor, he ran a full evidentiary hearing on the motion to terminate the PPO on the Rizzo PPO in Ottawa County. And Judge Van Allsburg did not hesitate to dismiss his motion because it was so clearly specious. That same reasoning applies to his motion to change custody here. It is without foundation. It is a gasp. It is seeking to deflect. It is doing the same thing, but actually at a hearing that he tried to do via two covert motions that he filed ex parte. There are two ex parte petitions that were filed in this thing after Ms. Kolakowski found out that Mr. Gonda was trying to murder her, and she's never been served with them. The only thing she ever got was the motion denying them. And I have the proof of service sitting in front of me here from Ms. Pauletta's office that says that. And if you look at those ex parte petitions, you can tell why they were filed. They make no sense whatsoever. There's no reason to file them ex parte because the relief that's requested is don't put the child in counseling. How is that an ex parte petition? He's simply trying to get ahead of what he knows is coming. It's here now. He can't get away from it. He has done these things. He has made these threats. He's said these things in front of the children, and he can't take them back. And I would tell you that after she got the PPO, she continued to send this child for parenting time. She did so because she knows she has to honor this court's orders. And she continued to use, against her better judgment, her current husband, Mr. Kolakowski, to achieve those transfers when it became apparent that Mr. Kolakowski was conspiring with Mr. Gonda on any number of nefarious schemes. She discontinued that practice and insisted that these folks meet at the Walker Police Department. And what happens there, and this is what happens, right? We're trying to solve problems.
Is she currently getting divorced from Mr. Kolakowski?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
she has left the house because Mr. Kolakowski is not a force for good. And Mr. Gonda has utilized Mr. Kolakowski repeatedly. So this is where I would.
So bottom line, what's happening here is the exes are getting together to conspire with the other side from both sides.
Well,
His current ex and her former ex are conspiring to work together, and her ex and his ex are now conspiring to work together. It sounds like we got a force of 2-on-2 here.
Well,
I'm dealing with the underlying allegations. Bottom line, we have domestic violence. That's, I think, if there's a PPO against in current domestic violence, and that's the allegations by the current about to be, or the current ex, I think that those are a valid concern of the court. I haven't heard from Ms. Pauletta. Mr. Reens, I'm going to hear from Ms. Pauletta. I was going to give you each 5 minutes, but I let it go on a little bit longer because I wanted to hear, because I have read the pleadings. You've said nothing other than the fact that you've interviewed Mr. Gonda's current ex that isn't in your pleadings. I've read them. I've read the text messages, and the court is going to take them seriously. This is not a joke. You don't threaten to kill someone as a joke. And you don't talk about it nonchalantly. And they're in the text, Ms. Pauletta. So I'm afraid the only thing that I would ask is I needed to know when those texts were done. But Ms. Pauletta
have been over the last several years, but the statements to Ms. Rizzo are within the last 2 months. And the last thing I'll leave to the court with is we're doing parenting time exchanges at the Walker Police Department. I send a letter to Ms. Pauletta saying Ms. Kolakowski will remain in her car and won't have any interaction with Mr. Gonda. And I asked Ms. Pauletta to tell Mr. Gonda to do the same thing. Last Saturday, what happens? They show up at the Walker Police Department, and as soon as Ms. Kolakowski pulls up, Mr. Gonda gets out of the car, immediately begins filming her with his phone. The child says, "Dad, will you help me with my suitcase?" He refuses to do so because it interferes with his filming. This gentleman cannot contain.
Now, that wasn't part of your pleading. So
it wasn't, because it just happened.
Ms. Pauletta, I know you filed a counter motion, so you filed it second. That's why I let Mr. Reens go first. What do you have to add to yours?
Well, to answer the court's question, I understand that the court wants to take these text messages seriously. We in no way said that they were a joke. We said that they were private conversations between Ms. Rizzo and Mr. Ganda. And if the complete texts are read, Ms. Rizzo is right in there. And the court read our pleadings with how she was describing Mrs. Kolakowski with as colorful, if not more, language than Mr. Ganda. I think it's fair to say that Ms. Rizzo probably would not intend for Ms. Kolakowski, especially at this point, to be aware of those texts, just like Mr. Ganda had no intention of Mrs. Kolakowski knowing about what he was texting. It was, you know, things that we say between significant others are often intended to stay between significant others. Now, I understand
including hiring hit people.
There is no text that talks about a hit person.
There
is no text that talks about a hit person, and that's
there is a police report.
Yes, because Ms. Kolakowski came up with that all on her own. And you could see that the Walker PD investigated that and said that there is nothing to it.
No, they said there is no crime to be charged. They did not say there's nothing to it.
Well, they stopped their investigation.
Yes.
They stopped their investigation. There is no hitman. There is no.
No, it's just it was mentioned, but there is threats and thoughts to want to kill another party. And if Miss Rizzo's involved in that, she's just as culpable. She's just not before the court right now.
And
nor would she be in this case.
And that's fine. And
that's not a normal conversation. You don't talk with your current relationship about killing off the last relationship.
But
in a way that actually winds up being murder.
The distinction in this is that there was no act in furtherance of it. There was no intention for Ms. Kolakowski to find out about it. Ms. Rizzo was so concerned about it that she waited 2 years to publish it. Ms. Rizzo left Mr. Ganda in mid-December. 3 weeks later, she decides to tell Mrs. Kolakowski about these 2-year-old texts. There's no imminent threat here. I understand that the court doesn't like the idea that Mr. Ganda said these things and that they're grossly inappropriate, but that doesn't make it an imminent threat. It doesn't make it so that Ms. Kolakowski is in any danger at all. When Mr. Reams alleges that these threats were being made over a period of 2 years, that's totally incorrect. These were all 2 years ago. In December of 2023, Mrs. Kolakowski was eliciting the help of Mr. Ganda and her businesses. If you want new information that I just found out yesterday, there are text photos that Mrs. Kolakowski sent to Mr. Ganda of her bare back and her upper bare chest, showing him a rash. She's not afraid of this man. She's not afraid that this man is going to kill her. She was texting him from Florida with photos of herself and asking him if she wanted him or if he wanted her to pick him up stuff at the store from Florida. She wasn't afraid of him. It was only when Ms. Rizzo received pushback on her PPO in December, late December 30th, I believe, 29th or 30th, that Ms. Rizzo decided that she was going to get back Mr. Ganda and bring out these old texts. The allegations that led and that substantiated the PPO against Mr. Ganda for Ms. Rizzo are also years old. No police report, no injuries, no complaints. Only when they broke up, she decided that that was non-consensual contact. Again, because they are so alarming, the court, just like this court, has legitimate concerns, and I understand that. And that's why we go to links to explain, not only is this all old, but it's also aggravated by the fact that Ms. Kolakowski suffers from significant mental illness and alcohol abuse. As far as new information, the minor child and that we've supplied texts.
I was going to say, when were those texts done?
The texts from the minor child, yes. Those were through 2022 and 2023. And there's also recent texts. And the minor child is afraid to be with Mrs. Kolakowski alone. She doesn't want to be alone with her mother because her mother doesn't control her drinking. Mrs. Kolakowski says, you know, talk about taking things not seriously. Mrs. Kolakowski doesn't seem to want to take her mental health seriously. And Mr. Reams' thing is, oh yeah, well, she was released from, she was released from Pine Rest on her own accord and no medications. They were improperly prescribed. But as of December 2023, Mrs. Kolakowski is prescribed Xanax, Cipro, Lexapro, Atarax, Seroquel. And that's fine, but she doesn't take them and she drinks in excess. I have spoken with Mr. Kolakowski, even as late as last weekend. Mrs. Kolakowski was drinking to excess and the minor child expressed fear about it. Mrs. Kolakowski posted something on TikTok about moving into her new apartment. Oh, look at me, I'm starting over. And the minor child saw it and the minor child said, look, see, big glass of wine right there. She doesn't want to be alone with her mother drinking. Our ask is that there be a full evidentiary hearing on this. The court needs to hear everything, not just the bombastic pieces, and needs to hear everything, needs to get all of the witnesses, hear from family members, school members who will support Mr. Ganda's position. We're asking right now that the parenting time continue as is, that both parties be restricted from consuming alcohol during parenting time, that a GAL be appointed, and that we have a counselor. With respect to the counselor, finally, Judge, Ann Bixler was the ask of the plaintiff. We had a GAL in the last case, Margaret Allen. Margaret Allen requested that Ann Bixler be phased out because she wasn't neutral. Melissa Athman took over and January or February of 2020, saw the minor child until September of 2020, and then suggested that the minor child no longer needed counseling. Mr. Ganda is not opposed to counseling. He just doesn't want Ann Bixler, and he doesn't want Denise Potter, who still has affiliation with CPS and investigated Mr. Ganda previously. So we're asking for immediate counseling if we can get into somebody for the minor child. She's very distressed about this. The minor child wants to be heard. And we need to get this transportation aspect ironed out as well, because the Walker Police, there's 3 individuals from the Walker Police that we intend to call as witnesses. So we don't believe that that is a good place for the exchange to take place. We were asking for the Granville Police Department. So those are our asks, Judge. And I think once the court gets behind all the bombastic and the, Mr. Reams channeling his inner, I don't know what, but actor or Donald Trump or whatever it is with the flowery language and the bombacity, then the court will see what's really going on here. I've talked to Mr. Kolakowski extensively yesterday, and there is example after example of Ms. Kolakowski thinking that the smoke detectors are spying on them. A tornado alarm was sign of an invasion. The light on the TV was spying on them. That's why she went to Pine Rest, Judge. And when she doesn't take her medications and she drinks, she returns to those types of behaviors, and it's very scary for this minor child.
After reading the file and reading all of the attachments to the pleadings, I'm not sure I trust this child to be with either one of these parents. I would love to find a third party custodian for this child. I am more concerned about Mr. Ganda than I am about Mrs. Kolakowski and her mental illness. But what we've got is someone who suffers from a mental illness as well as some alcohol problems. And the child has texted that she has concerns. Normally I don't read child's texts, but since there were so many texts involved in this, I read everything. I'm very definitely concerned about Mr. Ganda and his thought patterns. So I've got basically someone who is a domestic abuser and a very controlling individual on the one side, and a person who suffers from mental illness and reacts to that controlling behavior on the other, and concerns from both parties. So I am going to order the child into counseling. I'm not sure which counselor to do. I don't think any of the former counselors are a good idea. I'd like somebody fresh. If the two of you can't agree, that would be fine. I'm not sure whether a hearing would be more appropriate or the front of the court would be more appropriate at this point, because I'm not sure the front of the court can vet this out as best as you two can at a hearing. My
Your
concern,
Honor, my vote would be for a hearing.
Okay. I will grant a hearing on custody, parenting time, and child support. Again, you may ask the judge to do it. You can agree to my doing it, or you can, the judge has the right to send me the hearing. So it's up to you two to discuss whether you'd have it in front of the judge or you'd agree to my hearing it. That's up to you two. I'll let you discuss that and vet it out and either contact Ms. LeVay, my clerk, or either of the judge's clerks if you choose the judge. Okay, just let me know which you've done. Because I have grave concerns in both parties' cases because of what's been alleged, I'm not changing the underlying custody. I'm not changing the underlying parenting time. This child will continue with both parties until further order. The parties need to, I'm going to order them to stay in their own cars. This child is old enough to deal with exchanging between the two cars. The parties themselves do not need to be. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure I trust either one of you to have this child. I'd order the child to the grandparents' house if I could right now, but I'm not going to do that on a Friday morning until we vet this all out. And there's going to be a several-day trial. So again, judge or me, it's up to you two. But you don't have to make that decision right now. Ms. Paletta, Mr. Reams, you can discuss that on your own. But I'm not changing anything right now because of these. You guys have basically both pressed a nuclear button on each other. Like I said, we've got team ups of X's here that are really interfering with the case, that are not helpful. Each party is going to testify to other things. The former texts probably weren't as concerning Ms. Paletta because they were in the past until she found out, according to his now ex, that there were current ones as well. That brings all of it and dredges it all into it. And then he can't complain that she goes off mentally when she sees such things. This would be disturbing for anyone. The fact that he did it in the first place is the biggest problem. But the domestic violence and stuff and the issues, the personal protection order with the current ex and the allegations alone meet the threshold for Vodvarka for custody, parenting time, and child support. So I'm granting that hearing, but I'm not changing anything until then. The Walker Police Department will remain as the pickup and drop off point. If they're witnesses, great. They have more to witness.
Could I ask one
Yes.
question, if I may? And Steph, this is for you too. Now that she doesn't live
No, Your Honor. No.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have to go through
No,
your attorneys, Mr. Gonda.
This is indicative of how this gentleman behaves.
Whatever,
No,
whatever.
don't
I
even.
do have a
Don't
question.
even.
I
Yes.
have a question. The question is, they split the cost of counseling 50-50.
Pursuant to their incomes, the same
Well,
as you would do any other healthcare.
But
So
there
what
is
is the-
no,
what is the
there's
current-
no child
what is-
support right now because they have 50-50. So there's no
That
child
doesn't mean
support.
that doesn't mean their incomes are equal.
No,
I know, just asking. I don't know what their incomes are. So there is no child support order, so we don't know
That's
that.
entirely fine in proportion to their
Yeah.
income. It's entirely fine.
Yeah, and I agree. Just find out what their gross incomes are and do the percentage. And that's the way it should be split. The same as we do any other healthcare. Anything else?
That's it, Your Honor.
Well, yeah, like I said, I wish I could have pulled a trigger on something, but you guys have both launched nuclear missiles at each other. And I'm not sure the devastation goes to both of them from the allegations. Everybody's allegations are concerning. I just don't know which is worse. But they are
Understood.
concerning both ways. Okay. So I'm leaving everything status quo. This is what they agreed to. As one of the pleadings pointed out, they've been doing this for 2 years. And the child doesn't seem to be affected. So the parenting time for each party will remain. It's about their argument with each other that's the biggest problem. I want to hear from a counselor as to how the child is faring and whether it may be appropriate to get a third-party custodian here. Have a good morning, everybody. Mr.
Thank you,
Reams,
Your
will you
Honor.
well, there's no order to really draft except for
No,
the
there
counseling.
is. There
The
is.
counseling and the percentage split on that. And then if you want to put in that, I'm sure the court will issue a notice under hearing.
So
Yes, sir.
you also, if I understand, you also ordered that at parenting time exchanges, neither of them get out of their
Get out of the car. Correct.
And the parenting time exchanges at the Walker PD.
Correct.
Thank you. I will draft.
And if the child requests help with a suitcase, that's a whole other issue.
The child's 13. The child can carry.
The child should be able to carry, but that's a pretty hefty suitcase, I would think, because it's a week's worth of clothes, right?
Again, That is a loophole for Mr. Gonda to hop
I
out of
know,
it.
I know. Tell the 13-year-old that she's gonna have to either put it in 2 separate suitcases that are smaller. That way she can handle each suitcase, but she's gonna have to carry it. All right.